Miriam by John Greenleaf. Whittier. One Sabbath day my friend and I after the meeting, quietly passed from the crowded village lanes, white with dry dust for lack of rains, and climbed the neighboring slope, with feet slackened and heavy from the heat, although the day was well nigh done, and the low angle of the sun along the naked hillside cast our shadows as of giants vast. We reached, at length, the topmost swell, whence, either way, the green turf fell in terraces of nature down to fruit-hung orchards, and the town with white, pretenceless houses, tall church-steeples, and, o'ershadowing all, huge mills whose windows had the look of eager eyes that ill could brook the Sabbath rest. We traced the track of the sea-seeking river back, glistening for miles above its mouth, through the long valley to the south, and, looking eastward, cool to view, stretched the illimitable blue of ocean, from its curved coastline, some bread and still, the warm sunshine filled with pale gold dust all the reach of slumberous woods. From hill to beach, slanted on walls of thronged retreats from city toil and dusty streets, on grassy bluff, and dune of sand, and rocky islands miles from land, touched the far glancing sails, and showed white lines of foam where long waves flowed dumb in the distance. In the north, dim through their misty hair, looked forth the space-dwarfed mountains to the sea, from mystery to mystery. So, sitting on that green hill slope, we talked of human life, its hope and fear, and unsolved doubts, and what it might have been, and yet was not. And, when at last the evening air grew sweeter for the bells of prayer ringing in steeples far below, we watched the people churchward go, each to his place, as if thereon the true Shekinah only shone, and my friend queried how it came to pass that they who owned the same great Master still could not agree to worship him in company. Then, broadening in his thought, he ran over the whole vast field of man, the varying forms of faith and creed that somehow served the holder's need, in which, unquestioned, undenied, uncounted millions lived and died. The Bibles of the ancient folk, through which the heart of nations spoke. The old moralities which lent to home its sweetness and content, and rendered possible to bear the life of peoples everywhere, and asked if we, who boast of light, claim not a too exclusive right to truths which must for all be meant, like rain and sunshine freely sent. In bondage to the letter still, we give it power to cramp and kill, to tax God's fullness with a scheme narrower than Peter's housetop dream, his wisdom and his love with plans poor and inadequate as man's. It must be that he witnesses somehow to all men that he is that something of his saving grace reaches the lowest of the race, who, through strange creed and rite, may draw the hints of a diviner law. We walk in clearer light, but then, is he not God? Are they not men? Are his responsibilities for us alone and not for these? And I made answer, truth is one, and, in all lands beneath the sun, whoso hath eyes to see may see the tokens of its unity. No scroll of creed its fullness wraps, we trace it not by schoolboy maps, free as the sun and air it is of latitudes and boundaries. In Vedic verse, in dull Koran, are messages of good to man. The angels to our Aryan sires talked by the earliest household fires. The prophets of the elder day, the slant-eyed sages of Cathay, read not the riddle all amiss of higher life evolved from this. Nor doth it lessen what he taught, or make the gospel Jesus brought less precious, that his lips retold some portion of that truth of old, denying not the proven seers, the tested wisdom of the years, confirming with his own impress the common law of righteousness. We search the world for truth. We cull the good, the pure, the beautiful, from graven stone and written scroll, from all old flower fields of the soul. And, weary seekers of the best, we come back laden from our quest, to find that all the sages said is in the book. Our mothers read, and all our treasure of old thought in his harmonious fullness wrought, who gathers in one sheaf complete the scattered blades of God's sown wheat, the common growth that maketh good his all-embracing fatherhood. Wherever through the ages rise the altars of self-sacrifice, where love its arms has opened wide, or man, for man has calmly died, I see the same white wings outspread that hovered o'er the Master's head. Up from undated time they come, the martyr souls of heathendom, and to his cross and passion bring their fellowship of suffering. I trace his presence in the blind pathetic gropings of my kind, in prayers from sin and sorrow wrung, in cradle hymns of life they sung, each, in its measure, but a part of the unmeasured over heart, and with a stronger faith confess the greater that it owns the less. Good cause it is for thankfulness that the world blessing of his life with the long past is not at strife, that the great marvel of his death to the one order witnesseth, number. Doubt of changeless goodness wakes, no link of cause and sequence breaks, but, one with nature, rooted as in the eternal verities, whereby, while differing in degree as finite from infinity, the pain and loss for others borne, love's crown of suffering meekly worn, the life man giveth for his friend become vicarious in the end, their healing place in nature take, and make life sweeter for their sake. So welcome I from every source the tokens of that primal force, older than heaven itself, yet new as the young heart it reaches to, beneath whose steady impulse rolls the tidal wave of human souls. Guide, comforter, and inward word, the eternal Spirit of the Lord, nor Fear I ought that science brings from searching through material things. Content to let its glasses prove, not by the letter's oldness move, the myriad worlds on worlds that course the spaces of the universe. Since everywhere the Spirit walks the garden of the heart, and talks with man, as under Eden's trees, in all his varied languages. Why mourn above some hopeless flaw in the stone tables of the law, when Scripture every day afresh is traced on tablets of the flesh? By inward sense, by outward signs, God's presence still the heart divines. Through deepest joy of Him we learn, in sorest grief to Him we turn, and reason stoops its pride to share the childlike instinct of a prayer. And then, as is my wont, I told a story of the days of old, not found in printed books, in sooth, a fancy, with slight hint of truth, showing how differing faiths agree in one sweet law of charity. Meanwhile the sky had golden grown, our faces in its glory shone, but shadows down the valley swept, and grey below the ocean slept, as time and space I wandered o'er to tread the Mogul's marble floor, and see a fairer sunset fall on Jumna's wave and Agra's wall. The good Shah Akbar, peace be his alway, came forth from the divan at close of day, bowed with the burden of his many cares, worn with the hearing of unnumbered prayers, wild cries for justice, the importunate appeals of greed and jealousy and hate, and all the strife of sect and creed and right, Santon and Guru waging holy fight for the wise monarch, claiming not to be Allah's avenger, left his people free, with a faint hope, his book scarce justified, that all the paths of faith, though severed wide, o'er which the feet of prayerful reverence passed, met at the gate of paradise at last. He sought an alcove of his cool harem, where, far beneath, he heard the Jumna's stream lapse soft and low along his palace wall, and all about the cool sound of the fall of fountains, and of water circling free through marble ducts along the balcony, the voice of women in the distance. Sweet, and, sweeter still, of one who, at his feet, soothed his tired ear with songs of a far land where Tagus shatters on the salt sea sand the mirror of its cork-grown hills of drouth and vales of vine, at Lisbon's harbour mouth. The date palms rustled not. The people laid its topmost boughs against the balustrade, motionless as the mimic leaves. And vines that, light and graceful as the shawl designs of Delhi or Umritsar, twined in stone, and the tired monarch, who aside had thrown the day's hard burden, sat from care apart, and let the quiet steal into his heart from the still hour. Below him Agra slept, by the long light of sunset overswept the river flowing through a level land, by mango groves and banks of yellow sand, skirted with lime and orange, gay kiosks, fountains at play, tall minarets of mosques, fair pleasure gardens, with their flowering trees relieved against the mournful cypresses. And, air poised lightly as the blown sea foam, the marble wonder of some holy dome hung a white moonrise over the still wood, glassing its beauty in a stiller flood. Silent the monarch gazed, until the night's swift falling hid the city from his sight. Then to the woman at his feet he said, "Tell me, O Miriam, something thou hast read in childhood of the master of thy faith, whom Islam also owns. Our prophet saith, he was a true apostle, yea, a word and spirit sent before me from the Lord. Thus the book witnesseth, and well I know by what thou art, O dearest, it is so. As the lute's tone the maker's hand betrays, the sweet disciple speaks her master's praise." Then Miriam, glad of heart, for in some sort she cherished in the Moslem's liberal court the sweet traditions of a Christian child, and, through her life of sense, the undefiled and chaste ideal of the sinless one gazed on her with an eye she might not shun, the sad, reproachful look of pity, born of love that hath no part in wrath or scorn. Began, with low voice and moist eyes, to tell of the all-loving Christ, and what befell when the fierce zealots, thirsting for her blood, dragged to his feet a shame of womanhood. How, when his searching answer pierced within each heart, and touched the secret of its sin, and her accusers fled his face before, he bade the poor one go and sin no more. And Akbar said, after a moment's thought, "Wise is the lesson by thy prophet taught. Woe unto him who judges and forgets what hidden evil his own heart besets." Something of this large charity I find in all the sects that sever humankind. I would to Allah that their lives agreed more nearly with the lesson of their creed. Those yellow llamas who at Meerut pray by wind and water power, and love to say, "He who forgiveth not shall, unforgiven, fail of the rest of Buddha," and who even spare the black gnat that stings them, vex my ears with the poor hates and jealousies and fears nursed in their human hives. That lean, fierce priest of thy own people, be his heart increased by Allah's love, his black robes smelling yet of go as roasted Jews, have I not met meek-faced, barefooted, crying in the street the saying of his prophet true and sweet, "He who is merciful shall mercy meet." But, next day, so it chanced, as night began to fall, a murmur through the harem ran that one, recalling in her dusky face the full-lipped, mild-eyed beauty of a race known as the blameless Ethiops of Greek song, plotting to do her royal master wrong, watching, reproachful of the lingering light, the evening shadows deepened for her flight, love guided, to her home in a far land, now waited death at the great Shah's command. shapely as that dark princess for whose smile a world was bartered, daughter of the Nile herself, and veiling in her large, soft eyes the passion and the languor of her skies, the Abyssinian knelt low at the feet of her stern lord, O king. If it be meet, and for thy honours sake, she said, that I, who am the humblest of thy slaves, should die, I will not tax thy mercy to forgive. Easier it is to die than to outlive all that life gave me, him whose wrong of thee was but the outcome of his love for me, cherished from childhood, when, beneath the shade of templed Aksum, side by side we played. Stolen from his arms, my lover followed me through weary seasons over land and sea, and 2 days since, sitting disconsolate within the shadow of the harem gate, suddenly, as if dropping from the sky, down from the lattice of the balcony fell the sweet song by Tigris cowherds sung in the old music of his native tongue. He knew my voice, for love is quick of ear, answering in song. This night he waited near to fly with me. The fault was mine alone, he knew thee not, he did but seek his own. Who, in the very shadow of thy throne, sharing thy bounty, knowing all thou art, greatest and best of men, and in her heart grateful to tears for favor undeserved, turned ever homeward, nor one moment swerved from her young love. He looked into my eyes, he heard my voice, and could not otherwise than he hath done. Yet, save one wild embrace when first we stood together face to face, and all that fate had done since last we met seemed but a dream that left us children yet, he hath not wronged thee nor thy royal bed. Spare him, O king, and slay me in his stead. But over Akbar's brows the frown hung black, and, turning to the eunuch at his back, take them, he said, and let the Jumna's waves hide both my shame and these accursed slaves. His oathly length the unsexed bondman bowed, on my head be it. Straightway from a cloud of dainty shawls and veils of woven mist the Christian Miriam rose, and, stooping, kissed the monarch's hand. Loose down her shoulders bare swept all the rippled darkness of her hair, veiling the bosom that, with high, quick swell of fear and pity, through it rose and fell. Alas! She cried, hast thou forgotten quite the words of him we spake of yesternight? Or thy own prophets? Whoso doth endure and pardon, of eternal life is sure, O great and good. Be thy revenge alone felt and thy mercy to the erring shown. Let thwarted love and youth their pardon plead, who sinned but in intent, and not in deed. One moment the strong frame of Akbar shook with the great storm of passion. Then his look softened to her uplifted face. That still pleaded more strongly than all words, until its pride and anger seemed like overblown, spent clouds of thunder left to tell alone of strife and overcoming. With bowed head, and smiting on his bosom, God, he said, alone is great, and let his holy name be honored, even to his servant's shame. Well spake thy prophet, Miriam, he alone who hath not sinned is meet to cast a stone at such as these, who here their doom await, held like myself in the strong grasp of fate. They sin through love, as I through love forgive. Take them beyond my realm, but let them live. And, like a chorus to the words of grace, the ancient fakir, sitting in his place, motionless as an idol and as grim, in the pavilion Akbar built for him under the courtyard trees, for he was wise, knew menus laws, and through his close-shut eyes saw things far off, and as an open book into the thoughts of other men could look. Began, half chant, half howling, to rehearse the fragment of a holy Vedic verse, and thus it ran, He who all things forgives conquers himself and all things else, and lives above the reach of wrong or hate or fear, calm as the gods, to whom he is most dear. 2 leagues from Agra still the traveler sees the tomb of Akbar through its cypress trees, and, near at hand, the marble walls that hide the Christian Begum sleeping at his side. And o'er her vault of burial, who shall tell if it be chance alone or miracle? The mission press with tireless hand unrolls the words of Jesus on its lettered scrolls, tells, in all tongues, the tale of mercy o'er, and bids the guilty go and sin no more. It now was dewfall. Very still the night lay on the lonely hill, down which our homeward steps we bent, and, silent, through great silence went, save that the tireless crickets played their long, monotonous serenade. A young moon, at its narrowest, curved sharp against the darkening west, and, momently, the beacon's star, slow wheeling o'er its rock afar, from out the level darkness shot one instant and again was not. And then my friend spake quietly the thought of both, yon crescent sea. Like Islam's symbol moon it gives hints of the light whereby it lives somewhat of goodness, something true from sun and spirit shining through all faiths, all worlds, as through the dark of ocean shines the lighthouse spark, attests the presence everywhere of love and providential care. The faith the old Norse heart confessed in one dear name, the hopefullest and tenderest heard from mortal lips in pangs of birth or death, from ships ice-bitten in the winter sea, or lisped beside a mother's knee, the wiser world hath not outgrown, and the All-Father is our own.